We'll go back to our panel, Ross Cameron and Simon Banks, in a moment. I just want to bring in Josh Frydenberg, the Assistant Treasurer, who joins us from Melbourne Airport. And I know you've got to catch a plane soonish, so thank you for giving us some time. I just wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of things. Peter Costello's criticism today of the Abbott government's, well, talk about lowering taxes, but action or suggestions that it's going to increase taxes. What do you make? Do you accept any of that criticism?
Look, Peter Costello is a very distinguished former Treasurer and his record speaks for itself. 10 budget surpluses and he paid back Labor's $96 billion worth of debt. But we can agree to disagree on the record of the Abbott government because we've actually cut taxes by reducing the overall tax receipts by $7.4 billion over the forward estimates as a result of the abolition of both the mining tax and the carbon tax, and we have got a company tax cut for small business on its way. So I think we've done a lot to reduce the overall tax burden on Australians.
But, OK, $7.4 billion through those taxes. What amount have taxes gone up by, and will they go up by, when you include the deficit levy, when you include the bank tax that's being considered, when you include things like expanding the GST to online items, and some of the other changes about superannuation that are being contemplated as well?
Well, that number does actually include the temporary deficit levy, and it also includes the indexation on fuel excise. So that's a net number. When it comes to the bank tax, that's Labor's tax. They're the ones who put it in the budget. We at the time referred it to the Financial Systems Inquiry and will be responding in due course. But that's Labor's bank tax that they put actually in the budget numbers. When it comes to superannuation, again, Labor whacked superannuants by $9 billion with additional taxes when they were in office, changing a whole range of things from self-managed super fund levies to contribution caps and the like. We have said we will not make any adverse or unexpected changes to superannuation this term, and we'll stick to that.
Now, when it comes to spending, have you still got the stomach to pursue spending cuts, which is essentially what Peter Costello is arguing for?
Well, Peter Costello is absolutely right. The Coalition stands for lower, simpler, fairer taxes and not higher taxes in order to pay back Labor's debt. That's why through our legislated, David, not our proposed, our legislated measures that we got through as a result of last year's budget, we have halved the debt trajectory that Labor bequeathed us. Now, it's still too high. It's still just under 60% in 40 years' time of net debt to GDP. But we've got $30 billion worth of savings that are stuck in the Senate, including $5 billion worth of savings that Labor took to the last election that are refusing to pass. Now, as you know, things like the indexation of fuel excise, we had to pursue that through regulation, not legislation. On the indexation changes to the pension, Labor blocked that, so we're now considering a proposal put forward by ACOS. We will look at every possible angle to try to reduce spending because that's where the changes really need to be made.
Just clarify that for me on the pension. Have you dropped the plan to change the indexation of the pension rate or not?
No, we haven't dropped it, but we are considering ACOS's proposal, which involves changing the taper rates, and we'll consider that like any proposal that the Labor Party puts forward. But unfortunately, in this year of so-called big ideas for Bill Shorten, he hasn't put forward any new ideas and certainly no measures to cut spending, given the debt and deficit legacy that he left us.
And in fact, Labor have argued against that particular ACOS suggestion. Let me ask you now about the GST carve-up, Josh Frydenberg. WA are arguing very strongly for a change in the system. The Prime Minister today said that can't and shouldn't happen without the agreement of all states and territories. So does this mean the Commonwealth won't be doing anything if there's no agreement amongst the states?
Well, certainly the pressure now is on the states to come to an agreement themselves. As I've said before, and as a number of my colleagues have made clear, the fact is Western Australia is seeing a major reduction in its revenues as a result of royalty payments being less than they otherwise would with collapsing commodity prices. At the same time, the Commonwealth Grants Commission is proposing a GST carve-up which will see Western Australia go under 30 cents in the dollar. Now, no other state has gone below 81 cents in the dollar, and so that is really in the realm of unfairness now, and something needs to be
what will
done.
the
And I
Commonwealth
think it's
do?
incumbent upon the other states. Well, the Commonwealth will wait and see where these discussions go, and as you know, the leaders are getting together soon. But I can say, as a Victorian, and Victoria is a net contributor as a state to the GST, as a Victorian, I do feel that it's now unfair on Western Australia. Now, sure, they have to undertake significant reform. They have to be bold and brave, just like Mike Baird was going to an election with the privatisation of poles and wires. But to see Western Australians get less than 30 cents in the dollar from their contribution to the GST pool, I do think that is unfair.
Okay, very magnanimous of you as a Victorian, but if the states don't agree, and there's really no sign they will, what will the Commonwealth do? Will you do anything at all?
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but we do have options, as you know, for the Treasurer to not accept the recommendations of the Commonwealth Grants Commission. But we will see where these discussions go, and as the Prime Minister and the Treasurer have rightly said, all the money goes to the states. It's the third largest tax the Commonwealth has, $56 billion worth of taxation revenue.
It is still an option.
It's up to the states to come to an agreement.
It is still an option to freeze. It is an option to freeze the carve up on last year's proportions if the states don't agree.
There are options available, as you say, to the Commonwealth, but let's hopefully get an agreement between the states.
Assistant Treasurer Josh Frydenberg, thanks very much for that. Let me go back to our